supported radio station on the globe. Stand upon the right side of history.
You've got to get us out of here now! I won't let you down. I won't let you down, son.
Revolution.
And welcome to Thursday Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. I am Dan, the Spiritual Anarchist. This is my first time back in 4.5 months. So, I'm on a new platform here. And I'm going to be playing with it as I go. You have to bear with me. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of things I want to talk about today, but I want to first off just thank, Revolution.Radio. I hit them up on Monday and told them that I'd be able to come back on the air today. And here I am. It was a lot of, quick work they had to do. I'm getting used to this new platform. They were able to get me on so quickly. And I'll be here every Thursday from 9 to 10 Eastern Time. And the storm will roll through Studio A on Revolution.Radio. And this is the sacred spiritual insurgency, where truth is the sword, love is the shield, and natural law is the compass. What we got going on in the world right now, folks, there is no political solution to. No political solution to what's happening. We are not living in times of prophecy. This isn't the book of Revelations. Okay, I'm not going to get up on a pulpit and start, religiously speaking. But we're not in this prophecy coming true from 2,000 years ago. I am a conspiracy analyst. Some people say conspiracy theorist. But there are actual conspiracies. And I've said this before, this is just a hypothesis. It is a theory. But it's one based in research and the right wetting up of both the left and right hemispheres of the brain. What if, because I'm going to be asking a lot of questions today, what if extraterrestrials, astronaut theory, they made us, and they live forever, or are very long-lived? Wouldn't 2,000-3,000 years be a drop in the bucket to them? Couldn't they, with their advanced technology, advanced knowledge of math, know what was going to happen in the cosmos a couple thousand years in the future? Couldn't they give prophecy on what was going to occur, then go about seeing about at the right time to make those things occur? Okay? If you believe, first off, I do believe in God with a capital G. I believe in the Most High. I believe there have been real prophets. I believe Jesus was a prophet. But if you believe that God is a bearded, invisible guy in the desert sky, which is something that's unfalsifiable because it can't be proved, and you're not willing to, entertain any other theories or concepts, you need to rethink some things. So today is September 11th in the year of all of us, 2025. I want to give about 30 seconds of silence for the victims of the evil. That's all I'm going to call it. The evil that occurred on that day. May all your souls rest in power. All right. Let me get back to here and some of the stuff I wanted to talk about today. I remember that day when I was working on 9/11. I was a part-time police officer about 90 miles away from Cleveland, but on that particular day I was doing security at a hospital in the ghetto of Cleveland. Ended up being an 18-hour day. I remember watching it as it happened. It looked, it was a surreal feeling. It was one of those things that takes place, and it really drew our entire country together. It unified the religions in our country. It unified the political parties in our country. Flags were flying from every house. The plane that actually went into the Pentagon flew over Cleveland. It actually went out to Oberlin, Ohio, turned around, and then, the one that got shot down over Pennsylvania, I should say. I got some stories about that from somebody who's seen the plane fall out of the sky in flames. Okay. There's this thing called a broken arrow. And there's a lot of people who postulate that plane was shot down. But the famous "let's roll," the courage that people are able to show. Now, so since I've been gone, I haven't been back in, this is like 4.5 months. I'm on the 5th month that I was gone. April 29th, I want to say, was my last show. I had a legal problem. Thank God that's been adjudicated and it's taken care of. It was a self-defense situation. And, I'll talk a lot more in depth about self-defense later. The way they have things set up right now, it seems like they only want to have people with special suits and shiny things on their chest be allowed to use force in self-defense. If you do it, you better get beat up a little bit. Otherwise, they're not going to view you as a victim. But that turned out okay, and I'm back. I'm not going to let something hold me down like that. I just had a lot of things going on. I had to move. I was in the middle of a move. And, when you train somebody in the martial arts and you train them to be a Jedi and they turn out to be a Sith Lord, it's kind of disheartening. It really is. And I'll get more into that, later on. We all have these problems in our personal lives that come up. And when you start doing the great work, of talking about and speaking truth for freedom, the universe is going to test you a little bit. Do you really want to do this work? And it sure as hell has tested me the last 1.5 years, but I stayed pretty steady. When I wasn't on the radio anymore, I still was doing my podcast. almost weekly with everything else I had going on. And then now I'm happy to be back on here again. But that's basically what I did. Basically some of the stuff I had going on in the last 4.5 months. It's been nuts. That's one thing after another. And it's not bad karma. I've had really good karma. I just think sometimes the pendulum swings to the other side and you have to deal with normal life events, and understanding natural law helps you to, adjust a little bit so you can better bounce back from adverse events. So for anyone who's a first-time listener, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I am a former U.S. Marine, retired. I actually left police work in 2015, went back in 2019. So I did work in police work, in law enforcement of one kind or another for 27 years, 5 years in a prison. And I did a little bit of plainclothes, but nothing like Donnie Brasco or anything like that. I wasn't some high-speed, low-drag, undercover cop or anything. But I know what I'm looking at in the world. And I'm just wondering why no one else is saying anything. I have questions. I have questions about everything I'm seeing. And so should you. Now, I take into account that the majority of people are in that 40 to 60 hour work week, hamster wheel, rat race cycle of, work, home, sleep, kids, work, home, sleep, kids. And it can be, you get busy and you're in debt and just all these other things that keep you distracted. And they've done a wonderful job at keeping us distracted. See, sometimes people don't have any time to just do anything other than look at the news and believe what they see and hear. And I'm here to tell you, you have to look a little bit deeper. In 2020, the governments of the world worked together perfectly, in tandem, beautifully. Good teamwork amongst the governments to lock the world down and put us in face diapers. Less than 4 years later, we're on the brink of a world war. So I have some questions today. And I want to connect some dots that, to me, seem like they're very close together. They're not really hard to connect. This isn't one of those real in-depth connected dot things to test your intelligence. This is like a nine dots. Real easy to connect. Okay? Again, conspiracies exist, and so do false flags. And I'm going to say some things right now that might piss people off. I don't really give a shit. In 2014, we had a Hispanic guy kill a black guy in Florida. We also had a white cop kill a black dude in St. Louis. So there was some white on black stuff. It got the black community up in arms. You got this violence going towards them, right? 2020, I've done videos on this. The radial muscle in the guy in Chavez, whatever his name was, Chavez, the cop, the white cop who killed the black dude, and his arm was flexed when he was holding onto the car from the other angle. I'm sorry, I think that whole thing was staged. I think we're seeing a lot of staged false flags. Now, I'm not saying there isn't victims. There's always victims. But I still have some questions. The right wing at this point in time, and again, I don't get into politics. Okay? I just heard about this guy named Charlie Kirk who was assassinated, and I watched a video on that. And people might say, if you don't know who the hell Charlie Kirk is, and you don't know about politics, why are you even speaking on it? Because it's my right to fucking speak on anything I want to speak on. Okay, let's get that straight. And understand something. The solutions to the problem in the world, singular problem in the world, are spiritual solutions. They are not political solutions. Politics is a smokescreen for liars and to make you feel like you have some kind of a choice. And they get you fighting over the low-hanging fruit and the minutia, and then your ego engages. There's a lot of people who were Trumpers now who have turned on the whole right, the whole their whole agenda. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this was something that was always a little confusing to me, but I realized, oh, wait a minute, the whole Ukraine-Russian PSYOP war. Oh, that's right. Our left-wing people like the Russians because they were told to, and Russians are communists, which is pretty close to, socialism and stuff. And then our right-wing people, they like the Ukraine. Okay, I got it now. I want to make myself clear. I am in the middle. I am a spiritual anarchist. I'm an anarchist, which means without a ruler. It doesn't mean without rules. I follow natural law, which is God's laws. The Ten Commandments, basically, just to keep it, simple, stupid. So I do probably, if I'm going to have to pick a side, if someone put a gun to my head, a lot of the beliefs on the right side, some of those beliefs, no taxes, which they tax the hell out of us. Both sides do the exact same thing. They use different words to do the same thing when they get into office. So what I'm seeing now is these things that I consider to be, I just have questions about them. That's all I'm going to do is raise questions, okay? Now keep in mind, as a Lance Corporal, which is an E3 in the Marine Corps, I wasn't some military, intelligence officer, and I wasn't some tactical general who, was all real super smart about everything, let's just say, right? Spy versus spy. I'm not going to talk about all my training, but I really kind of specialized in beer back then. But I'm seeing things that's amazing to me that no one else is calling out. I have questions. Some of the highest level investigators in the country aren't questioning these things. So let's go to the church shooting that occurred a couple weeks back. I've been on the scene of, chaotic incidences where fathers and sons were shot down in cold blood. I've seen some violence. I've seen what real gunshot wounds look like. I've seen how people are reacting when they're really scared. And the questions that arose for me was, during there's no film. Everyone's got their phone. Nobody took audio. Nobody took any video. Now, I get it. If bullets are flying, you probably aren't thinking about, hey, let me get my phone out. But I'm just always surprised that no one has anything. When I see the people gathered outside the church who are inside of the church, I'm watching how they are acting. None of them are acting scared or shook up. A lot of them, I'm not seeing anyone who's scared and shook up. I'm not seeing anyone who's completely elated either. Bear in mind, you survive something like that, there may be a period of elation. You get into a self-defense situation where you're fighting for your life and you win, you might appear happy. You were just at the moment of truth and you made it through it. I didn't see that. What I did see is when a lady found out where this dude lived, this trans girl guy, she was really scared. I can see the real fear on her, that she was living this close to that kind of a maniac. But back on scene, I didn't see it. Then we have what's going around. This really affected me badly at first. And this was the Ukrainian girl who got stabbed on a bus. They haven't showed the entire video. They've shown parts of it. She reportedly was stabbed in the neck several times. Oh my God, did that get to me? The way she curled up and, my prayers go out to her and to everyone victimized by the entire situation, but I have questions. That's not how most people would act if they've been stabbed in the neck several times. It's not natural. I didn't see any blood. Like, you get stabbed in the neck, enough to die, and you're bleeding out. Where was the blood? I didn't see nothing. Let me see something here. Somebody popped into my room. Hopefully, I heard a noise. Okay, I think everything's all right. So yeah, my question becomes is, I don't know. I was so emotionally aroused, so emotionally traumatized by seeing that. I was livid, and then I had to take a step back and ask myself, anything that happens on TV that they show you that draws a strong emotional response from you, you should take a step back and really get through your feels on it. Where do your prejudices lie? Where do your contradictions, where are they at? What are you actually seeing and looking at? When I was in the Marine Corps, I was involved in a training operation on the Naval Academy that involved the security forces, which I was a part of in the Marine Corps for the Naval Academy, Fast Company, anti-terrorist, unit from Virginia for the Marines, Annapolis Police, DOD Police, and it was a scenario where a library had been taken over by Islamic terrorists, and we had to get there and secure the perimeter. And then a bomb goes off, you hear this big bang, people are coming out of the library, they're coming out of the library holding their arms and blood squirting everywhere, and it got an adrenaline rush out of me. There was a partial adrenaline rush, which good training should actually elicit. And I had to remind myself, this is just a training op. So there was some good special effects people there. Some good crisis actors. This was 1992. Less than a year later, dinosaurs looked real on TV. So you got to ask yourself these things. And then it's a Ukrainian girl, white girl, murdered by a black guy. What political party is that going to make mad? You got to ask these questions because it seems like what they're trying to do is divide us. These are, to me, obvious division tactics. I'm not 100% sure that she wasn't a victim. All I'm saying, and God rest her soul if she is, it got to me bad at first. And then it keeps popping up and I keep watching and something just didn't sit right. See, in the police academy and in your training, you learn about blood spatter, you learn about where the strike or where the entrance wound came from. You can tell all this by the blood. You could tell by someone's face. You could tell by a lot of things. Now, I could see a person curling up like that. Maybe it just was painful and she didn't know that she was going to bleed out. But there was no blood that I could see. I just have questions about it. How come all these people, we can go, any one of these people who are murdered, high profile, why aren't the coroners ever asked questions? Why aren't the coroners ever identified? There should be a coroner's report on all of them, and the coroner should be known. Same thing with whoever's investigating and all that stuff. It just never seems like it comes to pass. It's almost like the cartoons where there's an accident, and the Looney Tune guy is riding his moped. He gets hit by a truck. The ambulance shows up, grabs the moped, throws it on the gurney, jumps in, and drives away. And then we never hear about any of it again. So again, it's just, to me, you had in the past all these things that I had questions about that I think were false flags, crisis actors, of violence towards black people. Not that it doesn't really happen. It does. It happens in both directions, folks. I grew up in the city. I can tell you it happens in both directions. But it just seems like they're pushing a narrative of division. At the same time, we've got troops going into cities that are crime-ridden. So anytime you see something that's going to get this emotional response out of you, I had to calm myself down and really take a look at it. It was the same thing. I used to be a training officer as a cop. So when I seen Chavez, or whatever his name was, putting his knee on Floyd's neck in 2020, I was just angry as hell. Again, so I backed off and really started taking a look at it from different angles. And don't pay attention to the stuff. They're going to throw out contradicting things at you on purpose, because they want the left to be able to point something out, the right to be able to point something out, and have you guys arguing over the minutia and staying distracted and being as confusing as possible. This is how psyops work, folks. And when you know the end game, it's easy to put this stuff together. I don't claim to know everything, but where are the high-level investigators and military intelligence people, and no one's asking these questions? Let me see here. Yeah, to say that I'm angry is it's an understatement. My rant today isn't really a rant. It's my first day back. I'm getting used to this new system. I'm getting used to, talking to my mic again, and, it's a little bit different when you go from podcast to radio and back and forth. But now I'll be doing both, so I'll be more natural as time goes along, and hopefully not have a radio show that's filled with nothing but profanity, because when I get going, there's certain words I won't ever say. The C word, I don't say that. But as a former Marine, that F word really has a hold of me. So sometimes that comes out. I try not to drop it every other sentence, but it comes out when I'm angry. So here's the thing. We get to the church shooting is done by an let's just say we know that the right doesn't like the trans movement, right? The trans movement is an exaggeration of what they really are. Okay? That brings me to the word fuck, actually. On the old radio show, you couldn't say it because the FCC monitored it or whatever. Federal, you can't say the word fuck. Don't say that. No, it's bad. Don't say that. But we got our political left and right who are okay with children being raped or murdered. Okay, you got one side pushing an agenda where they're okay with pedophilia, and you got another side pushing an agenda where they're perfectly fine with children getting their heads fucking cut off and blown to shit. You're both hypocrites. It's bad to murder children in any capacity or hurt them. They get targeted for a reason. Believe me, they're the answer to the problems in this world. I'll get more than that in other shows. But it's astounding to me that you can't say the F word, but we allow all this other immorality to take place in humanity, and we don't do shit about it. That's giving them consent to continue. So I'll point something out today. When we get to Charlie Kirk, like I said, I don't know him because I'm not politically minded. I had never heard of him until this happens. Politics is nothing but smoke and mirrors. Okay, politics is not the solution. It is the problem. It's being used for these liars with these agendas to, hide behind. So there was an audio. I'm going to let you listen to this audio. Hopefully, I can get the mic over here. There's an audio of a video I want to let you listen to of somebody who broke this down. He comes from a podcast. I'm going to just play it straight from BitChute. And he points out something, and in the video, what he points out is when Charlie Kirk gets shot, and they got the video of it from this perfect angle, there is a total of 34 frames. Yet it took 14 frames before blood actually started happening. And there's a weird thing in slow motion you could see in his shirt where it pops up into a point, moves around in all these different frames as he's falling back, and then finally in the 14th frame, there's finally blood. Okay? As a guy who's been a firearms instructor, who's been involved with a lot of training, I can tell you right now, you get hit with something traveling 2,400 feet per second, you're not going to go more than, you're not going to even get through a full frame before there's blood. All right? So this is very interesting to listen to what this individual says. He's Presence Music is the name of his channel on BitChute, Presence Music. And I seen this, and I thought this was interesting. I wanted to play it for the show. And listen to what he has to say about this. Okay, I'll leave that at that. Something else that he brought up was the assassination attempt on... I'm thinking of the one in Pennsylvania last year that was that attempt on Trump's life. And all I can tell you is the kinetic energy of a round passing that close to your ear, okay, a 5.56 round, traveling at 2,400 feet per second, give or take 40 or 100 feet per second. Your hair is going to be messed up. You're going to see visible damage to the ear. The Secret Service isn't going to let somebody they're protecting stand up for a photo op. They're going to bury him. They would bury him. You wouldn't even see him again. Okay? They would have him off that platform and whisked away faster than Epstein was after his supposed suicide in that prison. He's probably on an island someplace. But, again, that's just a theory. Again, this is the conspiracy theory episode. It's just a bunch of it's a magic show, folks. That's all it is. It's a magic show. Don't let yourself get tricked by it. Let me see. I heard a noise. Oh, let me check something here. Again, this is my first time back. I'm not used to using this platform here. Okay. Everything seems cool. I haven't received any messages, so I'm probably still being heard. That's good. As far as I can see. Good. All right. If we connect the dots and you see this violence that's towards minorities and trans, between 2014 and 2020, and then we start to see violence going back in the other direction. Well, some people might say it's just tit for tat, but like that guy said, when you get hit in the neck, not only where are my military intelligence people and highly trained and experienced investigative law enforcement people, okay, where's the fucking doctors at? if you get hit, I worked in hospitals for years. I've seen a lot. Okay. You get hit in the neck or stabbed in the neck several times, enough to bleed out and die. That means an artery was hit. Okay. Where was the blood? I still have that question. And as the heart rate pumps and the adrenaline starts to flow, when you realize you've been hit by something that's going to make you bleed out, you usually pass out quick, and there's blood everywhere. It just, something does. I don't want to say anything 100% for sure. I can't really 100% know. This really is just theories. But there are questions that should be raised. And why are they wanting to turn everyone? Why is all this stuff leading up to right before they're about to start going into these different cities? Okay, so some people might say, "Hey, man, they're creating the pressure cooker. There's going to be more violence. There's going to be more." And they are putting something out. There's a dark spell over humanity right now. There's a dark spell over America. It's an energy that I can feel and many other people could feel. And there's a lot of people under the spell. And what I would say is to pray and don't let yourself surrender to violence. I am not saying don't defend yourself, but don't surrender to violence. Don't become emotionally aroused to the point where you automatically want to see a group of people, persecuted. I find it very suspicious to me that a Ukrainian, a white girl, is getting murdered by a black dude. And I didn't see any of the things you normally would see. The reactions from the people around there, they weren't in shock. They weren't doing anything. How many other videos can you see that are actual videos are real of good Samaritans attacking somebody like that and taking them down? More than I can count. Go on the internet. Listen, this is what you need to do. Go on the internet, start Googling real gunshot wounds, real gunfire, Google war footage, Google whatever you can get a hold of, and look at the reactions of people under real stress who are really fatally wounded. The video of it's out there. Look at how many videos are out there of people actually jumping dudes like that. Those people just sat there. They didn't even get like, oh wow. Their reaction was crazy to me. I started looking at the reaction of everything. I was able to calm down a little bit. Not a lot, because I'm scared to death that all this fuckery's happening and nobody's actually asking the questions. Everyone's stuck in their egos. My team's going to win, and that's all there is to it. My team is going to win, and that's it. I voted for this team. I have all my ego in this team, and it is the Browns versus the Steelers. Go team. Because nobody could admit they were bamboozled, fooled, hoodwinked, and lied to. And you got tricked. This is the freest country in the world, kind of, sort of. But these are all ops aimed at taking away your Second Amendment rights. And like I was saying on radio shows earlier, and I've said on podcasts earlier, I don't really care about the Constitution. I'll wipe my ass with it. I don't need some human being grabbing a quill and a parchment and scribbling down on a piece of paper, here you go, here's your rights, because I am a human being. I'm writing these rights down, and I'm going to hand you your rights and tell you what they are, and you'll take them and you agree to that. I don't need that. I'll burn it. I know what my rights are under God's natural law. My rights are freedom. My birthright is freedom. Your birthright is freedom. Okay? Anarchy is never really, they always want to say, it's broken out in anarchy. No, it's not. The world has broken out in government. Okay? Understand the etymology of words. I know what the colloquial meaning of anarchy is. Everyone thinks it's chaos. I get what the colloquial, so when someone innocently says that, I get it. But the true definition of the word, "an" is the Greek prefix meaning without. Archon means ruler. So anarchon, anarchy, simply means no ruler. And in these little small villages here or there, and small communities, you can see anarchism actually at work. Voluntarists working together without some authority there, forcing them to do this or forcing them to do that or telling them to do this or telling them to do that. And, they'll put these arguments on the TV for you. And then people who are too busy working will just parrot those arguments. Like when they start talking about putting chips in people in order to be able to buy and sell and this and that. I'm not saying those chips don't have some good, convenient purposes, or that they can't be used in a manner to get you to maybe walk again, because our whole body is electrical. I'm not saying they can't be used for anything good. I'm saying when you make it not, when it's no choice and you have no choice but to do it, there's an agenda there. If it was really good for you and they tell you how good it is and there's no agenda, then you got the choice. They're not going to force everyone to have it, or you can't do this or that. And then the one side will say, well, you're carrying a card with you that has a chip on it, so what's the difference? The difference is the chip isn't in my fucking body, dum-dum. You put an electrical chip in my body, you can send electrical messages to my brain. They can control you in that manner. They can know everywhere you're at. And if they don't like it, they can have that chip release some kind of poison. They can have it explode. And there's all kinds of things they can do. I don't want one in my body. So you just have to have some critical thought and dig a little deeper on some of this stuff. Connect the dots. They're trying to make this now. Look at this violent stuff that's going against white people and Ukrainians, by people of color, and you got trans people doing the shooting now at white churches. I'm just as critical as this as I have been critical of all the fake crime towards black people that they televise. Period. I got news for everybody. We're all enslaved. We've never not been. Slavery isn't just ball and chain chattel slavery. We are mentally enslaved. We are tricked. We are in a spell right now that we have to break. First show back, and I have to come back on September 11th, which it's an honor to be back on this show. But I have to think of all the victims of that, and to think where my consciousness was back then. I wish I'd have woke up sooner. I don't know. What I want to do with the rest of my life. And all I really want to do with the rest of my life is just, it's not that big of a deal. All I really want to do is just save humanity. That's all I want to do. I'm not asking for much. But who am I to want to try to save humanity? Said 8 billion people. Who are we indeed? There's 8 billion of us. If we all stand up at the same time and say no, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Yeah, I don't have too many goals. They're not too lofty. All I really want to do is have freedom for humanity. If you're in the dating scene and somebody says they want to build together, and by build together, they don't mean build human freedom and end slavery, that's not the person for me. That's not the person for you. Who am I to say I want to save humanity? Who are we? We're 8 billion of us. And we will not stray. We will not fall. We will not forget. You got to say your name, who you are. I am Dan, the spiritual anarchist. I am the flame. I am the storm. I will not be deterred. If from this cause I am ever tempted away, let the spiritual anarchist rise like Thor and say thee nay. And with that, I'm going to be ending the show just a couple minutes early. God bless you guys. Stay safe in these strange times. Stay, passionate, compassionate. Have patience. And stay frosty. Till next week, man. Nothing but love. Peace out.